Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another episode here on our channel. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of you have been asking around. I hear it mostly every day, and of course a lot of people are wondering now after the 12.0 update, who's better, Black Widow or Crossbones? Now, the weird thing about these two characters is that they are kind of almost alike, except in my opinion, one of them requires a little bit more skill than the other if you want it to be more effective. Now, Black Widow did get a really interesting nerf, of course, but nothing was affected to Crossbones. Now, let's look at Black Widow real quick as far as what the abilities entail. Now, I do have her subtlety ability to level 60, which grants me a 64.55 reduction on ability triggers. Of course, that's her special ability. Being 100 dupe or 99 dupe level gives her a total of about 70%. It should be about a 70% chance. Of course, the chance is increased by 15% against science champions and decreased by the same against mutants. So instead of being 70% against, I don't know, Cyclops, just throwing out a number there, you're looking at a reduction of from 70% down to reduction of 15, giving it a total of 55% chance of actually reducing abilities. And versus once it's a 99 dupe, you're looking at about 85%. Of course, for these tests, it looks like we're gonna be at about 79% chance, I believe. So that's 79.55, so about an 80% chance. So we're looking at more of their abilities. So of her abilities, you're only looking about special attacks, 100% chance to boost critical rating by 500 for 8 seconds, and 100 chance to increase critical damage rating by 1125 for 8 seconds. And special 3 on her SP3, of course, you're looking at a 70% chance to stun for 3.5 seconds, which is kind of low. So this is basically all you have for Black Widow. Now, take in mind though that let's say you have it at 99 dupe and you're looking at a 70% plus that 15, looking at an 85% chance of ability triggers being reduced. A lot of us do have, and I'm assuming you guys have unlocked it, assuming that you have on your utility, Pacify. So of course, Pacify, when your champions inflict stun, they also reduce enemy ability triggers by 30% for the duration of the stun. So many of you have noticed that while you stun your opponents, that 85 plus that 30% from Pacify does give you a total of 115. No, sorry, I think it's 115% to reduce the ability trigger. So that guarantees you 100% chance of not getting hurt by Electros or triggering evades on those Spider-Man. So that's just something you want to consider with Black Widow, that does work. So if your stuns are on point, of course you're never gonna get hurt, and of course on those thorn nodes you're not gonna get hurt. However, do take in mind that your stuns will only last for about, I don't know, 3 to 4 seconds, I believe. If actually 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds if you have Stupefy maxed out to rank 3. So that's a 0.5 plus from parry you get a 2-second attack, 2-second duration of your stuns. So take in mind that you're only getting that for 2.5 seconds, which would allow you to do about 4 hits. So yeah, it's just a give or take there. On the defense side, of course, I just want to show you what I have here before I jump onto Crossbones. For these tests, we are looking at Enhanced Fury. I went ahead and unlocked that all the way, with Extended Fury being 1 unlocked, just to get to more of the Enhanced Fury there. Also added the Pierce attribute there, max it out to a total of 3 just to inflict a little bit more damage, and of course deep wounds as just for my drags. Assassin, something else on the side, of course you guys already know about that, but that's gonna be a separate video once I dig into Electro. Now let's go ahead and jump into Crossbones now that we kind of looked at Black Widow. So Crossbones does have a lot more going on for him, and I believe from my perspective that it does take a little bit more skill to master his ability. And I'm not talking about the signature ability, I'm talking about his passive ability. So we're gonna go ahead and skip the Hydra training ability just for this. That's just, to me, it's just a bonus. I like to think of Crossbones like a mixture of Agent Venom and that of Black Widow. That's just something that I think on the side, because this character is just boosted with so many different abilities. Now let's look at the passive abilities here. So of course, Crossbone Hydraulic Gauntlets allow him to overpower his enemies. Whenever he will strike with a critical hit, he instead gains a fury, so which is very important for you guys to realize. So I believe in some of the special events, and of course and other special events where they've had nodes where for every critical hit you get like recoiled or punished somehow. I cannot recall exactly what event that was, but you might see some of it on Act 4. I'm not too familiar, don't quote me on that, but this character bypasses any character that has any ability triggers based on critical hits, which is a little bonus there if you want to consider that. Now see, he does gain for every crit hit that he does, he gains fury stacks, and he hits back with a fury. Of course, that increased by 529.2 for 8.5 seconds, which is pretty important there. The longer your duration of your furies, the better. So for the second portion, of course, the potency or the fury effects are increased by 20% based on his critical damage rating. Of course, you can calculate this depending on who you team up this character with, but regardless, this is really not important for this whole test that I'm making, because we're not worried about how much damage he does. We're worried about the comparison of ability triggers in comparison to, of course, Black Widow. For each fury effect, however, Crossbones empowers his opponents, decreasing their defensive ability triggers by 22% per fury stack. Now that's a key right there. With Overrun here, you're gonna go ahead and receive 3 automatic stacks of fury effects upon backing up and holding down the block for 2 seconds. So when this happens, you do get 3 fury stacks that last for 8 seconds. Okay, for 8 seconds, this gives you about a 66% to decrease your opponent's defensive ability triggers. Okay, so that's a 66%. So the only kicker when you have Overrun activated is that for those 3 fury stacks that you receive, you suffer 50% reduced armor and block proficiency for the duration of the Overrun. In exchange to that, however, while you're in Overrun, the offensive power gain increases by 40%, and your defensive power gain decreases by the same amount. So while you're in Overrun and you're hitting your opponent, it's more of an aggressive play that you want to take about while you're using Overrun, is that you want to keep hitting your opponent, keep stacking those fury stacks, and you'll see some of that gameplay as I go against Electro and Spider-Man. You can kind of see the differences and how the stacks work. My best recommendation is, as soon as you stack 4 fury stacks, you're good. You're at 9. You're like at what? You're like at an 88% chance of. You're like a Black Widow basically at a 4 stacks, and your chances of activating any abilities is reduced highly. And once you stack 5, 6, 7 fury stacks, you're safe zone. There's nothing that will stop you. You're invincible, and that's the most satisfying feeling that you get with Crossbones here. So that's about it. So of course, special attack 2 is the most important here that I like to think about. because on top of the fact that you already have had stacks of furies, of course if you don't during this time of activating your SP2, you can always back up and activate overrun, and then go ahead and hit your opponents for energy damage, which here gives me about 1293.6 energy damage over 10 seconds. So this effect only also removes perfect block chance and reduce block proficiency by 50% while it's active. So after you activate this and you hit them with the SP2, you're more than welcome to go ahead and rush into your opponent and keep hitting them while they're blocked. They're not going to get the best chances. So if you're going against a Captain America, they're going to take some good damage. So over here in Hydra training though, as a passive, whenever you have this unlocked, you do get a 19.77 chance to shrug off and convert any of these debuffs into fury stacks. And of course, the chance of this happening will increase by 15 while fighting Science champions, and decrease by 15% while fighting mutants. So this is basically Agent Venom's ability, except it's a more reduced version of it. I'm pretty sure it's a lot higher once you have them level 99. So for you guys that have a Crossbones and you're debating whether to rank up or duping, use your gem on it, you really don't need to use your awakening gem on him. Like I said, this is just a bonus. I mean, look at all the stuff he's already that he already has going for him. Okay, of course, a lot of I think the most important thing that you need to look out for Crossbone is increasing his critical rating, critical hit rating, because the more critical rating you have, the higher the chances of you stacking those furies. But yeah, let's go ahead and go for some gameplay now that we've overviewed both of their abilities in depth. Just trying to be very thorough with it. So yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right into it. Alright, so for our first example, we're going to be using our Crossbones against a 550 Electro. So you're going to go ahead and see how stunning and of course activating overrun goes along with. So as you can see, I didn't really take any damage here. I went ahead and stacked up to 7 there, and I was able to take out that Electro fairly easy after activating overrun. So we're gonna go ahead and go again, of course doing the same thing, but this time without overrun. As you can tell, I did receive about 150 per tick, as I didn't have any fury stacks, and of course taking a lot of damage there. Now the only thing I want you to grasp from this, that is, you know, the fact that the more aggressive you are, the more damage you'll take, of course. Now as you keep seeing these different clips of me trying to go against the Electro, I just want you to notice, upon getting a stack 3 or 4 of my fury, actually helps me a lot more on not receiving any of that defensive ability triggers from the Electro. This is a very helpful view of actually how thorns work in hand with any of the characters that you might be facing in Alliance War. So right now I'm activating overrun, still trying to hit the Electro. I only have 2 stacks and I'm taking tons of damage there, about 300. But of course, the more you hit your opponent, the higher the chance of you activating fury and of course stacking that damage. But regardless, we're gonna keep showing you this here, keep showing you how this works. I already have 1 fury stack there. Now I have a total of 4. So with 4, as you can tell, there's no damage being received. Dodge that back, and of course keep hitting with 5 and nothing else. So as you can tell, that was a perfect example of what Crossbone has to offer. So we're gonna do this one more time. Just go ahead and stun it, and let's see what we do here. We're gonna go ahead and activate that overrun, and of course your mission with Crossbones is that you want to have a total of 4 fury stacks. If not, you're gonna suffer the consequences as you go there. So this is why I'm highly advising you guys that to use you kind of have to have some sort of, not really luck, but I want to say you have to time everything correctly in order to receive 0 damage from your opponent. But I mean, of course, once you got the the ball rolling, there's nothing stopping it. Because the more furies you stack, they last about 8 seconds, so you just kind of can calculate each stack there. And if you are running low, maybe let's say you're running at 4 stacks, 3 stacks, you can always activate overrun. And if you're really that desperate, you can go with the SP3 and start over with the overrun. But of course, now we're gonna do this last 2 more fights. After this, we're gonna show you how easy it is to take out this Electro. So on this last one though, just want you to see an interesting point here. So we go ahead and swipe back, try to activate our overrun, but of course he's not letting us. This Electro is being a bit aggressive there. Trying so hard to activate it, but I just cannot. So many of you guys are gonna run through this problem whenever you're using Crossbones, where you're just gonna have to go at it and just try to get the stun near soon. And as you can tell, being at 4, it actually nullifies it by 88% chance of not getting hit by his ability trigger. Now we're gonna go ahead and go with some gameplay on Black Widow, and I'll show you the differences there with her, because it's very interesting what I discovered. I want to say that in comparison to what Crossbones has, I want to say that she's more reliable in the sense of a constant ability trigger. So for example, we're looking at Electro's ability that allows you to take a certain amount of damage back at you, right? So that's a constant ability that goes on without having to base it on a chance. And what I'm trying to say is that Spider-Man is that type of character that is based on chance, a certain percent chance of being evading. So Black Widow here does an outstanding job at receiving minimal damage based on her ability triggers, because right now we're looking at, from my dupe level, we're looking at a 80% chance of nullifying effect, which is pretty high. 80% chance on a science character, taking in mind that I'm a 69.22 plus the 15%, pretty high chance of not getting hit there. So this is pretty reliable, I would say. So if you're wanting to use a Black Widow against any Thorn nodes or any Electros, I commend that. I want to say that you should rank her up for this straight purpose. Now if you guys are trying to do map 6, however, it's a whole different story. So here, stunning my opponent of course allows me for above 100% chance of actually nullifying effects. As you can tell, that last hit, it actually gave me 100 and something damage, but minimal damage that I received based on those hits there. We're gonna go ahead and jump back to Electro and just kind of show you the differences there. As you can tell, I have 2 fury stacks there, trying to activate my overrun. Now I have a total of 5. So at this point I'm unstoppable. There's nothing that's gonna stop me. As you can tell, that was an easy feat, and this is the way you should be going on against any of these Thorn nodes or any Electros once again. So here, just trying to activate my overrun, that's 3. As you can tell, I only took about 1 tick of that, 249, and of course that was outstanding damage there. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start with the Spider-Man. I went ahead and used the strongest Spider-Man that I could find, thanks to my alliance. But we're gonna go ahead and start with Crossbones. As you can tell, I felt like this is the best example that I can find with the Crossbones. So Crossbones activate overrun already. I'm going against Spider-Man, and really there's no activation of the evade whatsoever. I was at 6 there. Now I'm back to 3, going down to 2. So now it brings me down to the danger zone. But you have to also think that evade doesn't activate in every single move. It's a percentage. So with Crossbones, I feel the safest. I mean, considering skill, considering the percentages, the fury stacks, and the damage that you're putting there. Because if this Spider-Man was a mini boss right now, I would have been able to do my SP2 and went ahead and done some really good residual damage on the side there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this battle here. Of course, he was able to evade, which is one of the luckiest ones that he got, due to the fact that I only had one fury stack. At the moment now I have 3, and I'm gonna keep stacking. As you can tell, I'm back to 3. I'm about to activate overrun, and I should have not tried to evade that. So we're gonna go ahead and keep going, evade, and then we're gonna start hitting Spider-Man. He was able to evade that due to the 2 fury stacks, and of course I just went ahead and did some incinerate damage, and that's gonna go ahead and finish this battle up. So of course, if this was a longer battle, I believe it would have been a bit more effective to show you exactly how to get away from those instances where things don't go your way. Like I said, it requires a good amount of skill to use Crossbones. But the good thing is that he retaliates really quickly, and due to critical hits, you're able to stack up to like 8, 9, even 10 fury stacks, depending on how aggressive you're playing and how well you can intercept. Because at this point, whenever you hit 5 fury stacks, you don't want to really depend on stuns. That's just taking away a couple of milliseconds away from you to you know, inflicting more damage, more hits, and avoiding those evades. So on this last one, it didn't show you how I tried to use you know, overrun, but of course my opponent would not allow me to. He kept you know, trying to get that heavy hit on there. So it was a very stubborn fight, but of course I was just able to go ahead and start stacking some fury stacks right there. So I'm looking at 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I guarantee you at 5 I really just feel unstoppable. There's nothing that can stop me. So I used Crossbones on map 6 yesterday, and it was a very successful fight there. Now let's go ahead and compare with Black Widow, okay? And I will say that Black Widow was, you know, went ahead and put some great work. The only problem is that I would hate to just like miss one evade and then it's game over. As you can tell right there, it was really easy for him to take me out. If it wasn't for the evade on my side activating, the 3% chance of evade activating, I think I would have my death would have been a bit quicker than what it was there. So I went ahead and did I did a couple of runs here, but all of them resulted in the same type of result there. I kept getting evades left and right. It wasn't consistent, you know. So at the end of the day, I just want to say that Black Widow against an Electro or Thorn's Note, it's beautiful, it's perfect. I would highly recommend, especially at a dupe level 99. Go for it. But of course, whenever you're going against Spider-Man on map 6 or any Spider-Man nodes of any type on Alliance Wars, you know, anything like that, Crossbones is the man to go with. Just due to the fact that you know, you get a higher, you just feel a lot more safer, to be honest. If you want to be aggressive, deal massive damage, Crossbones is the way to go. As you can tell, we went ahead and saw how much damage he does based on fury stacks and his stacks, and of course SP2, his incinerate, is based on how much damage he's doing due to the, you know, the fury stack. So if you only have one fury stack, you're only going to be doing about 100 and something per tick, 200, 300 based on the stacks that you keep stacking. So if you're stacking about 7, 8, you're going to be doing about 1,000 so damage based on fury. There's also take in mind that the passive ability on shrugging off any other abilities increases your damage by 20%, so that's a bonus there. But anyways, just hope that this video helped you understand Crossbones a little bit better. Go ahead and try him out. You don't have to have him duped. Like I said, he's a great rank 5 option in you know, versus Black Widow. But if you're debating whether Black Widow or Electra, then of course definitely go with Electra if you have an assassin's abilities activated on your masteries, because this stacks over that and increases the damage that you do at the very end for those long battles, especially in Alliance War and in map 6. So yeah guys, so I hope that helps you understand the comparison between Crossbones and Black Widow. It's a very complicated very complicated subject due to the after this 12.0 update. Black Widow getting nerfed, she's still pretty good, I would say, based on the tests that I've made. They weren't as constant or as fluid as I wanted to. But I can imagine having a Crossbones level dupe 60 the way I have my Black Widow, and I'm pretty sure he'll be a lot better than he is right now. Like I said, duping doesn't matter, but I'm just saying that if I were to get in a tricky situation where I get a debuff and like a stun or something, I'm able to recover so much easier, and then stacks of fury gets on top of that. It will make my crossbones a lot more effective. So yeah guys, I'm in favor of Crossbones. Right now I'm loving him. So I totally recommend you to go ahead and rank 5 him. If you do, you don't necessarily need to use a awakening gem the way you do with Black Widow, which makes him that much valuable. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found this helpful. If you have any comments or questions based on what I told you here, I know it was a lot of talk, but I did really want to go ahead and dig deep in between these two characters and why you should be ranking up one over the other. Also depends who you want to use on what situations, because like I said, just to overview at the very end, Black Widow, perfect for those electros and those thorn nodes. And of course, Crossbone is a massive destroyer of all Spider-Mans. So yeah, just take in mind guys that it takes a lot more skill to use Crossbones on thorn nodes and electros, and less skill with Black Widow, because you can just go stun and go straight at it, and of course you'll take less damage. Now also take in mind that you can always have Black Widow and Crossbones together in the same team. This will also increase your critical rating a lot higher, Crossbones getting more fury stacks and so on and so forth. But yeah, so like I said again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found this helpful, entertaining, or somehow got something good from it. But nonetheless, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys to the next one.